Bryan Clauson, if you could think of one word to describe this dinner with racers, what would it be?
Potograph.
Jesus.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
Welcome to Dinner with Racers. I'm Ryan Eversley alongside my co-host Sean Heckman.
That's me.
And we are on day 30 of our cross-country tour covering 8,000 miles in 20 states to bring you guys 27 dinners with various racing personalities from across the country, all for you to criticize it and make fun of us on Twitter.
So, next up in our long list of conversations was actually this was one I was kind of excited about because he's not somebody that's kind of in our little world of influence. Bryan Clauson, who is primarily known for his USAC exploits. He's what we would know as a short track guy. Runs all kinds of USAC categories, sprint cars, midgets, but has had a really cool oval track career over the years.
I just want to point out that we just passed the Ganassi IMSA trailers going south on 75.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Ganassi.
And it works perfectly because Bryan Clauson drove for Ganassi.
Yeah, so in 2007, 2008, Clauson was part of this whole development trend where NASCAR teams were picking up open wheel guys to try out their NASCAR programs. Bryan was a development driver for Ganassi Racing and their what was then known as Nationwide Series, now Xfinity, in 2007 and 2008. Has since gone back to basically full-time sprint car and short track racing, and has done a couple stints in the Indy 500, 2012, and most recently this year in 2015. Next year he is looking to do a big thing where he's going to try and run 200 races in 1 year. Hopefully that will include the Indy 500, but that's to be determined. And a lot of cool things that we talked about. We didn't know him at all when we walked in. Couldn't have been more like a normal dude. It was probably one of the handful of people that we met up with that we didn't know that felt like we were just eating with the dude.
Yeah, just like we met up with an old buddy.
Exactly. Of significance is his dog at Chevy Clauson.
Some of the stories he told us about early days of NASCAR and the likes of Chip Ganassi and Tony Stewart were just really worth the listen.
So we ate at Matt the Miller's in Carmel, Indiana. He calls it Carmel.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Yeah, whatever.
He's from there. What do we know?
Yeah, well, true. You had the...
I had the ahi tuna, and it was just not... I think they didn't cook it right or something. Wasn't great, but that appetizer we had was pretty good.
Appetizer was awesome.
Yeah.
I had the chicken sandwich. Also, big thanks to Matt Cleary for the recommendation.
I wish I could agree. I didn't like my tuna at all. The people there were extremely nice and helpful. Cool location. And thanks to Continental for supporting us on our podcast.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Is this a thing, Carmel? Is this a happening place?
Yeah, it is. See, Noblesville and Carmel or Carmel, however you say it. We're crosstown rivals.
Oh, okay.
Like in high school sports and things like that.
So
I
are we
stay
gonna
out of it.
Are we gonna get shot here with you?
Nah,
No one's gonna recognize you and be like, "Get him!"
So did you grow up in Noblesville?
Yeah, I was born in California, but I moved to Noblesville when I was about 10. So
We're in California.
Sacramento area.
Oh, okay.
Carmichael.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I moved here when I was about 10. So I grew up.
So you basically, as far as anybody's concerned, you're a Noblesville guy. So you went to high school in Noblesville.
Grew up. Graduated a Miller in 07.
Nice. Okay. So we're about the same age.
Did you do any racing in California before you moved out this way?
Yeah, I did some quarter midget racing. Cool. Actually, kind of obviously where it all started. My dad raced when I was younger. Raced before me,
right.
And then I think I went to my first race when I was about a week and a half old. So straight from the beginning was out at the dirt tracks, and my dad raced up until I was about 4.5, and he actually raced later than that, but raced till I was about 4.5, and actually I always say now, luckily, got hurt in a sprint car accident, broke his back, and had to sit out for about a year.
Right.
And in that time, I was, 4 and starting to bug him about getting a race car.
Right.
And
now his focus is off of his own driving.
yeah, so he had to sit out, I think, pretty close to a year. It was like 9 months or something like that. So in that time, we got a quarter midget. And
now what's awesome to me is Jeff Gordon kind of has a similar story. Like, he grew up in Vacaville, right, which
Yeah.
is not too far from Sacramento.
Yeah.
But what I love is, like, he moved at pretty young age, something
Yeah.
similar to like 10. But yet every time they come into Sonoma, because I grew up not too far south of there, and every time they would come to Sonoma, it'd be like, local hero Jeff Gordon totally cut his teeth here. It's like, nah, not really.
yeah, well, it depends on where, I go to California and I'm coming back home.
Is that, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, so when you get out west, are you claiming to be a California kid all of a sudden?
I think they claim me more that I claim Noblesville. I mean, it's kind of
Right.
Sure.
I like being a Hoosier. I grew up, kind of came to be who I am as a Hoosier. So I always claim it. But yeah, I mean, there's still people that when I come home or go back
They
to
still claim
California,
it.
they still claim me. So
Nice.
and funny you brought up the Jeff Gordon thing. That's always my favorite story to tell my dad. So my dad actually didn't grow up right alongside Jeff, but raced with him
Right.
and things like that, and actually had the opportunity to move back here with Jeff when they moved back and kind of take care of some of his race cars and things like that. And as he says, made the dumbest decision of his life and turned it down. And so that's eventually was a small driving force behind
Right.
getting me back here.
Nice.
John called my dad and said, "Don't screw up again.
Yeah.
Don't make the same mistake twice."
Now, when you as you've kind of become more and more successful, once you started doing NASCAR and IndyCar, and now you're obviously one of the big dogs at USAC, do you find that more people start claiming they knew you when maybe they didn't from that time? So it's like, oh yeah, I used to see him race up at wherever at Sacramento Speedway, even though they clearly were never there.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part for me is I'm terrible with remembering people, so I get very
That's
I get
normal.
I get
you
very
are
good
what's
at
called a race car driver.
yeah.
So
I get very good at the smile and oh yeah
Yeah. Well,
I remember.
What's your go-to? Is it because I go with nice to see you? You
Yeah.
know, when someone's like, hey, and you're like, I don't know if I met this guy or not, so I just say, nice to see you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I kind of have a gamut of them. I roll.
Because the worst is when you're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, and they're like, we've met
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
You're like,
Good to see you
yeah,
again.
Lally's,
Yeah.
Lally's go-to is very similar. It's like, oh, good seeing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
all right, just,
neutral.
hey, what's up? Yeah. Hello, have we met?
How have you been?
Yeah, exactly. How have you been?
Trying to drag their life story out to figure
Well,
out.
with you guys, I mean, the fan participation in USAC is, or in all open wheel dirt stuff. I mean, it's awesome. You go to those races and the stands are packed.
Yeah.
Shirts are sold everywhere. I've got a friend that started a racing clothing company, and his goal was more to be like an Formula One style brand. And I was like, dude, you need to make like cheap dirt track shirts because they sell a billion of those things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's as much of our earnings throughout the year is actually racing as anymore.
Yeah.
Especially you get guys like Donnie and
Right.
some of the outlaw guys that have been around for a while and have built the fan base. They move the merchandise.
I was gonna. One of the questions I had for you was like, how many shirts do you sell a year?
It kind of varies. Obviously, like this year was boosted a little bit through Indy, but we're usually in the 4,000 to 8,000 shirts
That's
range.
Holy
awesome.
So and for myself, we're a little bit handicapped in some. When I go race with the Outlaws, which this year was only 25 times.
While we're laughing is because like I race sports cars and
Like-
like a busy year is like 15
Yeah,
races.
and people are going nuts over the fact that there were like 11 races.
Yeah, they're
just,
like, oh, this
uh,
schedule's getting out of hand.
I just ran my 102nd of the year at a Friday night at the Jason Leffler race. That was my 102nd race of the year. So
Wow.
yeah, stay busy.
Are you just dizzy all the time? Like all the driving in circles?
Um,
Do you get out and just like fall over right?
no, the racing part's easy. Honestly, it's the night
Yeah.
to night travel
Yeah.
and stuff
Right.
like that. Once you're there and racing, especially our forms of racing. It's I've done everything but sports car racing or
Right.
or road racing, really. But the days are so much shorter, right? you roll in at 3, 4 o'clock. You're out of there by midnight, 1 o'clock, and
Right.
you're on to the next one. We're kind of like, we like to call ourselves high-class carnies. Sometimes not so much. We just roll in, set up shop. You're there. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's 3 days, and but back to the merchandise stuff. As a non-outlaw, you can't take your trailers, to the outlaw races. Only there, 15
interesting.
guys can
Okay.
have them. So
Okay.
obviously like the big races, Nationals, Kings Royal. Some of that's a little bit different, but if I was to go run with that, even World Finals, go to the World Finals, I can't bring my stuff to sit there.
Really?
So some of those guys, obviously they move a lot more stuff, just by being able to take their stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And two, we sometimes I get tired of dragging a trailer with me. Sometimes I want to just be able to run 85 down the highway.
Right.
And when you
get to the
say
next
you get
place,
tired of
so.
dragging the trailer, I mean, are you literally driving the trailer and the whole thing? You're not just showing up, helmet in hand?
No, well, I was talking about my T-shirt trailer, but
But you're driving that truck and trailer, though.
Yeah, driving the
That's
truck and
awesome.
the T-shirt trailer and trailer up and down the road for the most part. And, we obviously, we announced earlier this year, I guess in August, that our big plans for next year, trying to do 200 races in a year.
That's awesome.
Jesus.
Which should be a lot of fun, and but at the same time, obviously so we're gonna hire somebody to do some of that.
Right.
So I'm not dead.
You're gonna have to, yeah.
But it makes going up and down the road.
I apologize if I don't know. Is that a record? Is there?
I don't know.
Right.
And kind of how it starts. So I mean, really, I always get asked all the time, well, who the heck's idea is that? And honestly, it was kind of mine, and it really didn't start with a number.
Right.
We have in dirt track racing, everything's I wouldn't say become so kind of separated, but we have the World of Outlaws, we have USAC sprint cars, we have USAC midgets, we have USAC Silver Crown cars, so segmented, that a lot of times, especially if you commit to one series, you get, I wouldn't necessarily say stuck doing things you don't want to do, but it kind of came to me. It was actually 2 years ago. I was racing Oval Nationals, which at the time I think it paid $10,000 or $12,000 to win, which was a pretty good purse for what we do. And
can I interrupt and ask what that race costs to run?
Like our nightly, obviously, it depends on that race is a little bit more expensive for us on the East Coast because we travel.
Yeah.
But a good general figure by the time you include, I actually have my own race team that we kind of do. Now I raced it for a long time, but now we kind of do I'm kind of one of the bad owners that does the lease program. But, more out of necessity. We kind of were just done with it.
Right.
Or we were just gonna kind of sell everything off, and then have had the opportunity to keep it going. So that's why we do it.
Right.
But our general figure is somewhere. Our cost is anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a race, depending.
So winning 9 to 12
there's actually
grand is a
profit.
big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
awesome.
So I mean,
Wow.
obviously, and that includes, to some degree, labor and travel and things like that. Obviously, everything's to go to California, it's probably costing us more than that.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I assume that doesn't include the amortization of the car and engine and whatnot itself, correct?
yeah, well, that's pretty much. That's what it's going to cost. That's including, we break down, on a sprint car you get 25 nights on a motor, so that's your nightly rebuild.
So that does include
your rebuild, engine cost. Obviously, you don't really take into account necessarily the,
So
the value of your brand new sprint car each night going down.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So in theory, you could semi-sustain off of prize money if you're constantly doing well.
Yes, to some scale. To some scale. Obviously to go World of Outlaw Racing, they travel a lot more.
Yeah.
A USAC sprint car team, we've done it. We've done it with, not limited sponsors, decent amount of sponsors, but and sustain. Obviously it just, if everything went perfectly and you never blew up a motor, and, only crashed once or twice, there's the opportunity to do that. Now, in that you got to remember you pay your driver half and kind of go through some of that. So it becomes close.
Right.
I mean, your bottom line, you're not losing hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right,
You know, if you
Not
can
like
put it
other
together.
forms of
So,
racing.
so now, obviously, you know, the scale of, you know, I've raced for myself, and I've raced for Tony Stewart Racing.
Right.
You know, obviously, you take a step to that scale. You know, they're spending a little bit more money
Right.
than what I would.
Right.
Same thing, you know, on the outlaw side. There's guys that do it for, you know, do the tour on $300,000 or $400,000,
Right.
and there's
Thank you.
guys that do the tour for $1 million. You know, so it's
Wow.
kind of, you know, obviously there's always that, you know.
Now, I don't want to speak for Ryan, but in my opinion, you're literally the only series that's even close to breaking even off of prize money. Are you guys aware of that? Compared to, like, I mean,
yeah.
sports car is definitely not the case.
Yes,
IndyCar, they
sports car
struggle.
makes 0 sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I
NASCAR
think, I think to some degree, you know, we're also probably, and I mean, I guess we're also in some degree probably one of the few series left with owners, you know, true owners that you know, go out and pick the guy they want.
Like
You
go
know,
hire a
it's
pro.
This is
You know,
the guy I
obviously,
want.
yeah.
Or, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
obviously, it isn't anything, and I'm one of them. You know, if a guy has a check, it makes it easier to put it together. But and you know, there's that in a lot of forms, but you know, our racing has become so much more of a business. It seems like over the last you know, decade.
Yeah.
Maybe even further back than that. But you know, I remember.
Which is funny because we're sitting here hearing you talk. We're like, that's the closest to classic racing that we've heard in a long time.
I'm just considering all the choices I made in racing, and I'm feeling foolish.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not an easy.
Sure.
It's not an easy life, I guess, lifestyle. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but you
we're on
love
the-
what you're doing.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
See, you're having
Absolutely,
fun.
I'm having a ball.
Yeah.
You know, I had the chance. You know, we've kind of briefly talked about. I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know, I went to. I was fortunate enough at 16. You know, still a junior in high school. I was had a driver development deal with Chip Ganassi, so I didn't really had to think about what else I was. You know, anything else I wanted to do.
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
young
I-
enough.
You know, I was just always racing. So you know, straight out of high school, I moved to Charlotte. Did some nationwide racing. Kind of got chewed up and spit out a little bit by the you know, the business side. You know, I always look back and you know, I always have the same advice for every young kid. You know, a lot of kids have come through USAC. You know, you got Larson, obviously, he's gone all the way to the top. You know, Christopher Bell's coming through now.
Yeah.
There's a handful of guys that have, you know, Stenhouse made it.
Right.
So, you know, but it's always the same. It's, you got to make sure you're ready, but it's always so hard that first time to.
Right.
And a lot of it isn't even being ready on the driver's side of things. I mean, I think what we do is some of the hardest, purest form of racing there is, and prepares you really well, especially for you know, cup cars that are
absolutely.
you know,
Hanging it out.
overpowered, you know, under gripped,
Yeah.
you know, sliding around, and but the business side of things especially is where it becomes hard.
Well, I was gonna say is off the track. If you could look back at, you know, because when that Ganassi deal happened, obviously you were so young that probably, I'd imagine in your mind, opportunities were going to come left and right, whatever happened.
Yeah.
So if you could do it all over again, in terms of what you would have done off track, you say it sounded like it was very harsh.
Yeah, I mean, I think just there's a lot of things, you know, probably taking more control over it myself.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of at 18, you just kind of, you know, especially without anybody kind of guiding you, you're just kind of floating around. Oh, they're gonna make the best decision for me, you know.
Right.
They've got my best interest. You know, you don't know any better.
hope.
You're,
Right.
you know, you know, who am I gonna, you know, at 18 gonna walk in and tell Chip Ganassi what to, you know? I mean, I guess I probably should have, you know, or at least been a little bit more vocal about how I felt on some things, but I kind of got.
We know sort of the story as fans, but sort of from your perspective, how did those few years go?
You know, it's obviously, well, we kind of had a game plan, and
basically you're straight out of USAC.
Straight out of USAC. I actually got hurt. Things kind of got accelerated. I got hurt in 06. I was 17.
Yeah.
It was kind of going to finish out 06, and then start, you know, easing my way into the stock car side in 07, doing ARCA and things like that, and actually got hurt, broke my neck in 06. Oh,
do you know what you want, by the way? Did you look? I should probably look.
Yeah,
me
look.
too. I think we need another minute.
But so yeah, in got hurt, broke my neck.
Timeout. I like how the first time you mentioned you got hurt, it was just like, yeah, I got hurt.
Yeah.
That kind of accelerated
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
You broke your
Neck.
neck. Like, let's talk injuries real quick. I mean, a broken neck is a life-threatening injury for many people.
Yeah.
Could lead to paralysis. I mean, like, and sprint car guys you guys are nuts. I mean, I love it. I admire the hell out of you because, first off, you're sitting on top of a spinning drive shaft that all I think about the entire time is like, you're nuts, man. Like, like, what happens when that goes wrong? I guess it's clearly sorted, but Jesus.
Not always. I mean, there's still. That's
yeah.
what got. I mean, that's what got Tony eventually on his leg deal.
Right, exactly.
Is that? But so yeah. Well, that was obviously the biggest injury.
Yeah, a broken
is
neck.
my
I'd
neck.
say.
I've got 2 rods and a plate, and
Wow, and you're 26?
26. Well, I was 17 at that time, so I've had it for since then. But actually, that's a kind of a crazy story. So I got hurt. It was in Wheatland, Missouri. That's just a fair warning to anybody that's ever going to the hospital in Wheatland, Missouri.
Don't do it. Yeah.
No. So I was going to the hospital. I went to the hospital. I was knocked out and kind of here and there, and I came to. Well, I was still in the car, but they were still working on me and all that stuff. And so go to the hospital, and they do all their tests and scans and this and that. And once again, this is probably makes it sound stupid, but so I was coughing up a little blood, which is semi-normal when you crash really hard. Cause
No, it's not.
they're actually getting ready to release me from the Wheatland Hospital. And I was coughing up a little blood. Well, I actually had a big gash on my knee, and that they had wrapped in towels and things like that. So they brought in a bunch of these bloody towels. Well, there's a little bit of a miscommunication between the doctor and whoever brought the towels in. He
Wheatland,
thought I
Missouri.
had coughed up all that blood.
Oh, God.
So he freaked out.
Wow.
And
yeah.
sent me to the Springfield Hospital.
And at no point anybody's asking you these questions. They're just looking at
No.
So basically,
at this point, I'm sitting in the back of an ambulance, just sitting up, having a good old time.
They're like,
in the back
"Oh
of an
my
ambulance
God."
on the way to Springfield, and I
Right.
get to the Springfield Hospital, and it was like an episode, like what you see on like ER. They like roll me out of the back and they
Right.
take me down. And they're like,
Somehow they're all gorgeous.
Can you feel your? And can you feel your hands? Can you feel your feet? Yep. Well, you shouldn't be able to. Oh, okay. So from there, I had surgery, and yeah, it was really kind of one of those things that obviously was stunk at the time, you
Right,
know.
right.
But looking back, it's kind of it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Really, as silly as that sounds, that you get to at that point obviously kind of have everything going your way. You're at that point a 17-year-old professional race car driver.
Right. Best thing in the sense that it
It kinda
showed you how
grounds you.
easily it can happen.
It just kind of
Yeah.
grounded me.
Yeah.
Obviously, at that point in time, everything's racing.
Right.
like
And it still is. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
yeah.
But it woke you up that it could go south real
at some
quick.
point. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's at some point, you kind of go, oh. So yeah, but anyways, so after that, they decided to keep me out of the dirt cars for a little bit. Let me run Chili Bowl every year, but that was about it. Did some
And
ARCA.
by they you mean Ganassi?
Ganassi,
Okay,
yeah. Did some ARCA racing. I think I ran 5 or 6 ARCA races. One at Gateway, which was pretty cool. It's always one of my favorite stock car stories to tell too, is because well, first off, we spent like 3 days there testing, right? Well, ARCA test was a 2-day test, and we came back and tested it once on our own. And in ARCA, you're allowed to shift and kind of have open.
Right.
You don't have any. You're not really
Yeah, you're not
regulated
on
on the
fixed gear or
gearbox or
anything,
nothing
right,
like that, like
right.
the Cup car. So we roll back, and I'm like, this time I'm like, I might have just been 18, so. But I'm like, I don't want to shift. I can't. I don't want to shift in the
my
moment.
thing.
It's not my
Yeah,
thing.
right.
All right, I'm just trying to get this thing around here. And so we tested for 3 days, and we were really quick, and did the whole deal. Go out, qualify. We're like 14th quick. We're like, oh God. They're like, Bryan,
Yes,
you know
I
what
gotta
this means?
learn. Yeah,
You're gonna have to shift tonight in the race.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
oh boy. So we ended up race. Obviously, everything goes really well. We win the race. Well, we get done, and they're like, burn this thing down. I'm like, all right, guys. funny question. How do I do a burnout?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Right.
17, 18 years old.
How do you
Never,
never
never
come in anything with a
driven
clutch?
anything with a well, I mean, obviously at that time I ran 5 races with a transmission, but you know, never. How do I do?
What's the
Yeah, how do I do this, guys?
Well, because you don't want to do it wrong.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
know,
absolutely.
yeah,
That'd
try
be
and
embarrass
fail.
yourself.
That's the worst.
Did you have a trademark victory thing that you wanted to start doing?
No, not really.
Do you have one now?
No,
Who
I
is
don't.
Is it Larson that does the no wheel burnout?
Yeah, just the donuts.
Yeah.
See, I was always, I never, and I think it just was the way I was brought up. My dad was always very anti-donuts.
Oh.
He always said,
So
Yeah,
your
when
dad was not Mike Dillon.
he always said that when you that when you won, you should act like you deserve, or that you expected to win, and
Right.
you roll into victory lane and you do your
And you
cheering and
just be
hollering.
happy. Sure.
and- So
What does your dad think of Austin Dillon and his 17 trademark things that he does when he wins?
I don't even know if my dad pays attention to Austin Dillon, to be honest.
Yeah, I pointed this out to Sean maybe a year ago that he has he's got the Maverick helmet thing going on, he's got the cowboy hat thing going on,
Yep.
he's got the manicured eyebrows thing going on.
Doesn't
I
he
don't know.
do like the slide or
Well,
something?
now he's got the slide, and it's just
And,
like
and then he's got a power slide that he does.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I know it's because he just won. Like it's it's the end of October we're recording. He just won like 3 weekends ago
Yeah.
in Kansas, I think.
yeah.
And it was as if we were watching Talladega Nights when they got into the commentary.
I'm not sure I enjoy that slide. It kind of looks
Well,
awkward.
It's just like it's too much crap. And like I
Yeah.
said to Sean, it's like I think because he's like the young kid and he's in the 3 and he has all
Yeah.
this pressure on him to be somebody that he's trying to have like a move or a signature.
my favorite of all time is the Kyle Busch.
The bow.
Get all the smoke and then bow out of the smoke. I think that's pretty.
That's
I,
all right.
I
Absolutely.
enjoy that. I
Yeah.
enjoy that. I just think it's creative, right? You get all the smoke, and when the smoke clears, you're bowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Well,
just wa-
especially a guy who gets that much hate.
Yeah, no,
So-
absolutely. Well, yeah, and it
So-
fits too because he plays it well. So plays
Right.
the part.
Well, it sounds like you get at least 5 days off from the track.
A year.
So
Yeah,
year.
a year.
Yeah.
So we, yeah, certainly, I was actually, I just purchased a new home here, not here in Carmel,
home
but here in
ownership is your
Noblesville.
first home.
Actually second,
Okay.
but the first one I bought in Charlotte, and then all that went bad like a month after I bought it. So luckily, I was able to. I had people living in it for a while and different things,
Made it
and,
work
and I
for you.
actually did okay on it. So so I sold that one. That's where this one comes in. But so right, currently in the process of getting furniture, and
Right. Starting.
I got a fridge, but it's got a problem. So I got I got all typical stuff,
You got
right?
real problems now.
Real problems.
Yeah.
Real
And
problems.
you don't
Well,
strike me as
but
a
while
guy
I'm-
who has people to handle this. Like I have a feeling you're the one doing it all yourself.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend Lauren are doing it. So we're just, but anyway, so we just happened to time it where we went into the furniture store as the end of the cup race was on. So we
Oh,
went in the TV section and watched the last.
Just stand there. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what I would call those last two.
oh, from
things.
Talladega.
Yeah, from Talladega.
Attempts.
Yeah.
Attempts is what they were calling.
Yeah, we're recording this.
Whatever
the-
they were, but yeah. So we went and watched. So yeah, I'm a typical race car driver.
Just in the kind of travel we do more on the road racing side, especially if you're single, it can be tough because you're gone all the time, and in their minds, it's this life of luxury that you're going to exotic cities like Mansfield, Ohio, and
It's a beautiful place.
yeah.
I've raced there before too.
but for a guy who's racing 100+ times a year, it's got to be even worse. So how is that during the single days? 'Cause you-
It's Bryan
You
Clauson,
know.
man. There's girls
No,
living
I-
there.
I- Sure.
everywhere. No, I mean, obviously, it's just I don't think I ever knew anything any different.
Sure.
Here, at the time, I've been with her since I was 21, so
Well.
I only had a couple years there of really,
really,
doing it, and obviously, it's a good time. You're traveling around, having fun, and but at the same time, having a sense of, obviously at 21, you're not really thinking about family life, but having, it's always better to have somebody to share the experience
Exactly.
with. And,
so is she a race fan?
and oh yeah,
Okay.
yep. She does. She's right there by my side 90% of the time. She actually does a lot of our merchandising
Oh, no.
and things like
Oh.
that. Works the trailer and does a lot of different. She's kind of my people. she handles a lot of the business side of things. We do actually do an event. I say we do, as in we've been doing it for a long time. We did our first event last year at Chili Bowl, a Racers for Autism event. We actually donate the proceeds to the Autism Society of America, and we've kind of built a relationship with them. I've got a friend, a close friend, family friend that I went to high school with. Actually, it wasn't a family friend. We were friends, and then our families became friends because we were friends. But I went to high school with that's autistic, and he actually, when he was younger, he learned to read, write, count, do everything, talk basically through racing.
Wow.
So
Neat.
He's been to. I think he's been to a 500 every year since he was born, or something close.
Wow.
He can.
Does he know
name
every
all.
statistic?
Well,
Does he
pretty
know-
much,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Usually what happens is he'll call me and go, "Where'd so-and-so finish?" I'll go, "Ben, you know that." "Well, where'd he finish 4 years ago?" I go, "Ben, you know that."
Right.
So if you're going to do
So-
an interview, you should just bring him with you.
Absolutely.
And
I
he'll
probably
just recite your
should
stats.
have. I probably
like,
should
yeah.
have. So,
Yeah.
but we do an event in Tulsa for that. Last year we donated over $40,000 to the Autism Society, so that was pretty
That's
cool.
amazing.
So another thing, you're very active with your dogs, Chevy and Stewart.
Yep.
Is that right? And
I am.
You guys did a
Chevy and Stewart?
Chevy
Chevy
and
and
Stewart.
Stewart.
Wow.
Yeah. And you did a leukemia thing, like a drive with shirts, I think.
Yeah, we've actually done a lot of different projects. So the Let's Lick Leukemia
Yeah.
dog walk was actually
Sean has corgis. So this
I
is
do.
right
the
up
man's dog.
yeah.
corgis.
So we did.
I'm sorry, I do have to. What kind of dog?
I've got a short-legged Jack Russell Terrier.
Okay.
That's Chevy, and
That's
Stewart.
very corgi-like.
Stewart is a Beagle Terrier.
Oh, beagles are awesome.
Yeah,
All
so-
right, we're in the small dog club.
Manly
Yeah,
dog.
Chevy's
Yeah.
9 pounds and Stewart's 15.
Are you familiar with television legend Ron Swanson?
I'm not.
Okay, he's a character on Parks and Rec, very much a guy's guy. And he's got a great quote that I love, despite the fact that I violate this quote with my corgi, is any dog under 50 pounds is a cat, and cats are pointless. But anyway, moving on.
So yeah, but
Licking leukemia.
the Let's Lick Leukemia deal was actually
I thought you'd like that.
it was a
I'm
dog
proud
walk.
of you.
We did. It was kind of in conjunction. I actually had a classmate. He passed away from leukemia shortly after we graduated, and so his mom's really involved with the Leukemia Foundation, and she was up for Woman of the Year, and so part of that is award is fundraising. But we did a dog walk in Noblesville and kind of did the same path as the turkey trot and their run. So it was a lot of fun. It ended up, of course, downpouring on the
Right.
day of the
That's
dog walk.
how it has to work,
But
right?
they ended up, I think they ended up moving, or I say moving, they ended up having like between 60 and 70 dogs come through, which considering it was 100% chance of rain, and it rained like an inch and a half that day, was pretty
Wow.
good. So,
Still got it.
but it's a lot of fun, and we've done, when I was running for TSR, every October Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we do pink helmets, which has kind of become a little bit legendary as far as my pink helmets go. We can get into that in a second, but they do pink helmets one year. I think I did a pink and white suit, pink gloves.
Man.
So they
You're
were very
committed.
involved. Well, we did a shirt with my dog Chevy on it. This was before Stewart was around, but we did a shirt with my dog Chevy on it, and basically same sort of deal. All the proceeds went to the American Cancer Society through TSR, and did breast cancer awareness shirts with my dog on it. I had a bunch of people ask. Basically, what happened was we had a bunch of people asking for dog shirts. I was like, I am not making a shirt with my dog on it. And then so we did it
And then
for
the right
a
cause.
cause. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it was a lot of fun, and people love it. She's got her own Twitter account at Chevy Clauson. She's hilarious.
Okay.
It kind of started as just somewhere stupid to put.
Okay, we got. So I gotta judge you. Does
Don't-
at Chevy Clauson interact with? Are you at Bryan Clauson?
Yes,
Do those two interact?
they do interact a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
They do interact a little bit.
I like you, so I'm not gonna judge.
Yeah, well,
So.
Can't
we
win
had to
them
get her a special phone with her paw. It's a paw touch. Don't judge me. Judge her 3,000 followers. Okay.
Holy
Right.
shit, really?
Somewhere. Let me
Yeah,
see what
that's
I
what's
got.
up.
3,670 followers right now.
Your dog has more followers than most sports car drivers.
Well, yeah.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I am proud of
So
Chevy
there's
Clauson.
all. She,
Now I
she
have to
does all
follow
kinds of
Chevy
s- Now
Clauson.
now she's grown up.
Don't judge me.
It's
Judge
not.
her
It's not.
3,000 followers.
It's not necessarily. I mean, it's still pretty funny.
Wait, is
and
this the dog right here? I'm
Yeah.
looking at the photos
Yeah,
here.
that's the little guy. He's adorable.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cute damn dog.
So yeah, they do. When she was a puppy, it was, a place where I came home and there was toilet paper shredded
Yeah,
everywhere.
right,
It was
right,
like,
right.
look, Dad, I threw a party for you.
I gotta say, you're the short-legged Jack Russell is very corgi-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we can hang.
Yep.
Now
You're gonna have to get some more followers for your
Yeah,
dog.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I did in
Just doesn't
fact.
hang with anybody.
Dad's card's full, bro.
The great thing about it is, anymore, especially after a bad night, obviously we get a lot of we talked about it earlier, a lot of fan interaction,
Yeah.
after races. Great thing about what we do. Is anymore, the people come down and go, is Chevy around?
I was gonna wonder,
It's
do
not-
they go to the
it's
races?
not, well,
Yeah.
It's
Do they
not,
go?
It's not. Oh, I want to talk to you. Can you
Right.
sign? Chevy's got her own hero cards, the whole deal. So
Wow,
No
that's
way.
commitment.
Really?
yeah,
I love
so
USAC
I'll see
fans.
if
I
I can.
gotta see the hero card.
No, I got to give USAC fans credit because they are committed.
She signs
Um,
autographs, the whole deal.
So do you have like a paw print that you put on these things?
We did at one time.
All right.
The problem is, so when we went to the autograph cards, they're the high gloss and the stamp
Yep.
doesn't quite work as
Doesn't
well.
stick
So Lauren is actually
so now we just dip their paws in ink.
Lauren will actually sign.
Oh,
Chevy's
as
name.
Chevy
Yeah,
Clauson.
we don't.
That's inauthentic.
She won't do it. Well, she doesn't do it though. Earmuffs for anybody that doesn't want to.
That's
No,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
how
let's
it
say,
goes.
let's not ruin it.
Yeah, she'll take it to the back over by the kennel, sign
Oh,
it,
I
and
see.
bring it back out. So
Wait,
Lauren's got a future in
yeah,
you know,
Lauren
show business.
gonna
or something.
replace
So
me
she's
soon
a
enough.
promoter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a kid's there, and she'll be like, "Okay, let me go get her to sign it," and that's get him
Yeah,
to sign
exactly.
it. and comes
Yeah.
back. Wow.
So the kids love it.
That's commitment.
See, like Chevy, she'll tweet like stuff like that where she's got her dust goggles on.
She's doing
and,
the selfies and the whole
like,
thing.
yeah, she's got.
Wow.
She's ready for the races.
That's
and-
commitment.
Yeah. So I'll keep scrolling through here and see if I can find
The
hero
Autographs
card.
is my favorite.
That's
part.
yeah,
yeah.
that's the
day.
winner.
Oh yeah, autographs. That started at nationals. All the guys. We're like this year. We're and it wasn't necessarily this year because I think it was last year we did our first autograph signing. And it's totally
So
it's
funny.
totally not really poking fun at, but at Knoxville Nationals, everybody puts their signs up that autograph sessions at their T-shirt trailers.
Yeah.
Lets you know what time they're going to be there and that. So we did one for Chevy that said autographs at 4 o'clock.
But it
something.
worked though.
Oh yeah, people love
People
it.
love
They
that,
thought
yeah.
it was hilarious.
He's like,
I love this sport.
So,
What I love is that like you're doing several charity events. You have the time to make hero cards for your dog, and you're racing like 800 times a year.
well, that's where Lauren
Meanwhile,
comes
I'm
in.
like,
Yeah.
I got 10 races this year. Gonna be busy.
That's where Lauren comes in. She's pretty good.
She
at all
makes the
that,
real
so
action happen.
Yeah, she kind of makes it go around. So
So when you were running the Ganassi Nation or Xfinity car at the time, Nationwide, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, and you find out that Dario Franchitti is going to be, coming in and replacing you. That's got to be the weirdest thing in the world to you because you're an oval guy. You've got the experience in the roundy round world that he doesn't, and he's obviously Chip's friend. They've been together a long time. Do you have a resentment there? Not today, but at the time, because you're like, but I'm the guy. I'm the next. I'm coming up, and he's not even in this world, and it's one of those
yeah,
things.
I mean, I don't think resentment's probably not the word, but yeah, I mean, obviously at the time you're kind of like you're unsure. Originally it was supposed to be completely separate. It was a second team, and then eventually, it obviously migrated down to one team
Right.
and became, the issue of not having much time for one or the other. And
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, we're all competitive, and when they bring somebody in like that, might not necessarily threaten you as far as having a job, but takes races away. You're not going to be excited about it. But at the same time, I think it was kind of a unique bond that Dario and I kind of created because here he was kind of a superstar of IndyCar. Well, not kind of. He was superstar from this world. Here I am, 18, just trying to figure it out, and obviously kind of a superstar is probably a big world, but an up and coming guy on the dirt track side, and here we are, kind of tossed in this nationwide deal together, trying to learn together. We were teammates at a lot of the first 5 or 6 races. So here we're going through the process of just trying to get our feet on the ground together, and I think I taught him some stuff and about oval racing and oval racing's probably a bad example because
setup,
but just that type of racing. He taught me a lot, not necessarily about in-car stuff, but just obviously had been through so much more outside the business side, and not so much business side related to racing, but taking care of your personal stuff and things like that, and structure. So he certainly taught me a lot, and we're still if he was sitting across the bar today, we'd push our tables together and have a good time.
Well, funny you say that because
Dario.
Obviously NASCAR has a lot of popularity. There's a lot of money rolling through there, and you've got a really good attitude about it. But I have to think there's like a group of USAC guys who just watch with resentment. I was faster than that guy, or whatever.
I mean, I think it's human nature. I'm sure there is. I think there's.
I'm not naming names.
I'm just saying. I think it's human nature. Obviously, you watch, guys that maybe you beat or beat week in, week out, or race and get the opportunity for some other reason. I mean, I think it's just human nature to probably be like, geez, or there's been a couple guys that have come through and been really bad at USAC racing and gone on to the stock car stuff and have been pretty good, and then you're like, well, man, I just would have never guessed that, or
Is the discipline just enough different that it doesn't necessarily translate?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the biggest, I think the discipline translates really well to Sprint Cup.
Yeah,
I
because
think,
of the horsepower.
Yeah, I think nationwide trucks is where it becomes a little bit more difficult.
So in some ways, your talent can get lost in the feeder series.
Hardest thing for me, because I made my debut in 07, which was before they, I think they went to like a tapered spacer or something. Basically took 100 horsepower away from the nationwide cars. So the first couple mile and a halfs I ran in 07 was a lot of fun. I loved it. I'd like, that was back in the time where there was, 10 to 12 cup guys. So if you ran top 15 as a non-cup guy, you were like, heck yeah. You were doing good. And we had some really good runs. And, then in 08, they went to the tapered spacer, and it became a lot tougher for me. Just because you're, at that point, becoming pretty much running wide open almost. I liken it to be racing a crate engine versus a super late model or something like that. The cars just become so close. It's a lot more about track position and aero and things like that. So that was tough for me, and I think if you talk to about any of the guys that have come through, that'd probably be similar answers.
Sure.
Once I got to I remember I attempted to qualify in about 4 cup races, but they kept getting rained out. But we went to test it. We went to the test at Charlotte, and real test with everybody there. And I think we were 4th quick or something at Charlotte. It was like, they're like, well, where'd this come from? I was like, well, this is easy. Everything I do is lift, roll the corner as fast as you can, things like that. It's not run wide open and see how loose you can get the car. And so it's I think the translation, it translates a lot better to Cup.
So speaking of which, I would have to think, the Indy 500, which obviously, being an Indiana guy, I'm sure that was a dream come true. But in my mind, those cars are tremendously different from what you're used to.
Yeah, they got 4 wheels and a steering wheel that doesn't even look like a steering wheel.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big adjustment. I think it's tough. I think I always say that USAC did not prepare me for the Indy 500 in a sense that it taught me how to drive an Indy car. It prepared me in that I see something different every night, whether it's midget on a quarter mile, sprint car on a half mile, big car on a mile in the morning, midget on a 5th mile at night. Like you see something different every day, so you got to adapt, you got to adjust. Not so much anymore, but even 3, 4. Well, last one I probably ran was 10, but 4 or 5 years ago, you'd run dirt on Friday, pavement on Saturday, dirt on Sunday.
Yeah.
Back and forth, back and forth. So you learn to adjust, adapt, figure it out, no matter what you're doing. And, so in that sense is, really the only way it kind of prepares you, prepares you to be able to adapt to anything.
But with the Aero, you can't hang it out like the way you're used to. Obviously,
No,
if you go
I mean-
off, it's going to be expensive.
Yep. No, it's, you're dealing with wheel movements in, 10, 12 degrees, not, we're probably in a 100-degree radius probably in a midget sprint car. We're maybe a 120 as far as how much we move the wheel. The Indy car, if you turn it 15 degrees, you're in trouble.
Right. How nerve-wracking was it getting up to speed? 'Cause
A little bit. I mean, I think the hardest part. Actually, the first year was easier than this year.
Your first year was 2012?
2012, and that year went really smooth and really well up until the last lap of qualifying.
Right.
But that year went really smooth. Sarah and their group over there, Sarah and Wink and Andy, they gave me a really good car. That year we were really probably underfunded to do it, which is kind of why once we crashed it was kind of that. We just what they brought to the table was as good as anything out there. I think it showed all month. We were top 10 all month in practice. Still to this day couldn't tell you why we crashed in qualifying. Everything looks the same.
Right.
Who knows? But they really brought a good program and had a good team behind me there to kind of make it.
You and Newgarden were just hooked up that month.
Yeah, we rolled. And honestly, looking back, neither one of us was very good on race day. Obviously, we had the incident. And we were kind of cobbled back together. But neither was Joseph. And if we went back and to do it over again, we could see some of the warning signs in the data of where we were not going to be so good on race day and things like that. But, that was 2 rookies being 2 rookies.
Yeah, right.
And, but, overall, I think it was a very successful month. Obviously, had the crash and qualifying that kind of set us back. But they did such a great job, not only bringing a good program, but having a good step-by-step process and making sure the car was right every time we went out there.
Yeah.
This year we had some issues kind of right from the get-go of just different little things.
And this year was with KV.
It was with KV, and Jonathan Birds. And really, it's nothing, nothing bad on their part. No, I was nothing really bad on their part or anybody's part. Like, the Birds did a great job, preparing the program a year in advance. Everything looked great. We had a lot of sponsors and fan participation. Everything was great. We just had little issues all month that set us back, and some of it is part of being a third car. I guess to some degree, obviously it sucks, because as a one-off, you don't want to be that guy.
Well,
you don't want to be last.
Like,
You're but at the end of the day, everybody that's around it knows. I mean, you can only do so much, and really it was kind of frustrating because we'd go back and look at data, and we'd have less wheel input. We'd have, I was flat. I was 100% flat earlier than our other 2 cars, and just for whatever reason we just
It wasn't there.
didn't have
Yeah.
speed. And
Well, and that's the weird thing about Indy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you could have the exact same setup between 2 cars, and for whatever reason, one is just tremendously slower than the
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
and everything else could be the same.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, obviously, and then the race, it's kind of you spend so much time at, you're only there for a week, but you work so hard for a week to pound out laps and try and put the best piece together, and
Yeah.
it kind of really isn't a whole lot of fun going out there knowing you're just trying to survive the day.
Yeah, right.
Right. You're gonna, at some point probably, as bad as it sounds, but just being honest, at some point probably be in the way.
Yeah.
You just don't have speed. You're just trying
No, that makes
to,
sense.
and obviously, that's kind of where we got in trouble, was just trying to not be in the way. And
Now, is that a
and
hard
got-
thing for a USAC guy? Because you can, I've never driven a dirt oval, but you can go offline and kind of use the cushion or adjust for your driving style to sort of get around. But, Indy, I assume you go offline, that's it. You're going
you're
in
in
the wall.
trouble. No, it's really not that hard at 225 mile an hour to try to not go offline. You're pretty committed to the one line. But it certainly is a different, racing mentality. It's a little more sometimes give and take, sometimes just take. But it is, you do kind of adapt to that.
A lot of people are critical of the fact that there is no, like the Indy 500, the sort of pride of Indiana, there is no real system for USAC guys to get in. And I have to think on your end, there's, you ran last year. I think there's hopes to run again next year.
Yep.
There's got to be a certain amount of pressure of like, okay, you're representing whether or not USAC guys can succeed in this system. And that's got to suck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's great when things are going well. Obviously, 2012, I was like, carrying the banner. And this year, you're like,
Never mind.
I don't know what I drove before this. I think a stock car driver. I think.
Yeah.
So it's just something that goes with the territory.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, dirt track racing is something I'm passionate about. You obviously want to do well for the sake of short track racing, and and our fans are so passionate. We put together a package. It's another Lauren project. Put together a package for the 500. I actually did what we called the Indiana Double. Raced the 500 during the day, and then left and went to Kokomo and ran the sprint car race that night.
And didn't you finish like second?
Yeah, I finished second by a little, barely. But we put together a package, and really we didn't know how big or how many people we ended up. I think we ended up having like 100 or so, maybe 110 people on the buses.
They did both.
And we kind of announced it late. There was a lot of people that had already bought tickets and things like that. So, but it was a lot of fun because I probably had 15 friends and family on there that obviously were just doing it because it was the easiest way to drink and get to both places, not have to worry about driving. So, and with it, Jonathan Birds had dinner and everything out there. So, but we had a group of dirt track fans that had never been to the 500. So we got to take them there, show them what it was all about. Obviously, I think it's one of the coolest events around.
How did the Bird deal come together? Because it seems like this is a very loyal sponsor for you.
So
He has this weird pause, like, shit, I don't know if I want to get into this.
No,
it's something bad.
No,
I bailed him out.
It's I drove. So I first met David Bird in 2013. I ran.
And to put this in context, Bird.
No, it's 12.
Bird locally is like a huge chain of something.
Yeah, so
I don't know. We don't
so
have them in
Jonathan
California.
Bird's. They got a cafeteria.
Okay.
Well, it's a restaurant now. It used to be a cafeteria. They shut down the cafeteria line. It's more of a restaurant.
Okay.
Same kind
Trying
of
to think of an
style.
example like in California that really isn't.
So they've got that, but they're a huge catering business.
Okay.
That's their big, their official caterer of the Colts. They do weddings. They've been more than great to me, and he's crazy. and it literally was one of those deals that it kind of just fell out of the sky. Like, I hadn't talked to him in 2 years, and he just happened to see that I was in the area, and
That's crazy.
Well, we were just talking about this with Derek Walker today, where like in the sports car world, we all have gotten that phone call a few times a year of this guy who's got something on the line and he talks a big game and you're just listening like, yeah, let's see if it's real. And 99% of the time it's nothing and they just want to take meetings in there. So is this a thing for you guys too?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, it's not necessarily something that happens all the time, but I think your top tier of drivers, there's always somebody trying to get, whether it's just, to some degree, just using that as an example. I didn't know if it was something they were using as, they're very active right now in relaunching their Jonathan Bird's brands and their catering brands and restaurant brands. They're starting to franchise out restaurants and things like that. So, for me, you're always kind of, I mean, I've been on the bad side of things. I've gotten not necessarily used, but kind of hung out to dry before,
Right.
and so you're always playing devil's advocate. And is he really just using this to create buzz to launch their brands? And 2 years from now, everybody's gonna forget about it anyways.
Right.
And it's not gonna be a big deal if we don't show up at the 500. Like, what is the end goal here? But to his credit, like I said, everything and more that they said they wanted to do or promised to do or thought about doing, they've done and delivered, and I give them major credit for that. And I go to, obviously, with this 200 race program, there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of a lot of my car owners were semi-skeptical at the time because they're like, well, what's he getting out of this?
Right.
Really nothing, cause he's but just they love the sport. They love the background.
They want to be a part
obviously
of it.
for them, I kind of fit the brand of the down home.
Just
If
your
you looked
everyday
at me, you
American
probably
kid.
wouldn't really think I'm good at anything. So, it's usually
the
wearing a hat and a hoodie, and
Who, for guys like Ryan or myself who like all kinds of racing, but aren't sitting there checking USAC websites every day, who's the greatest driver we don't know about?
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a tough one. I mean, obviously,
Because like the Dave Darlins, the Levi Jones, those are names that have transcended over to us. The Swindells and such.
yeah. I think right now where we're at, we're kind of in a point in time where, we've got all our legends and there hasn't really been any more. Our
Right.
Tracy Hines, our Dave
I
Darlins.
think we're eating with one.
I don't know about that. Not yet. But at the same time, our younger guys have done a good job of being recognized. Obviously, like I would say, if you told me to pick the best driver in ESAC right now, I'd try to pick myself, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Next question.
I'd tell you it's Christopher Bell or Rico Abreu, but obviously they've kind of made
I
the
know
jump.
both those people are, Sean.
Yeah, so
I know who Rico is.
What do you think about Rico moving to stock car racing? You think he's going to pick it up okay?
yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
excited for for him. Honestly, and I can say it because he's one of my best buddies,
Right.
but he did a lot better this year than I really expected him to.
Yeah.
Because he struggled a little bit on the pavement on the USAC side.
Right.
He never really got to where they kind of got rid of it as he was coming into his second year anyway, so he kind of lost the opportunity to get really good at it.
Right.
But definitely struggled early on with it. And two, what he does is pretty special. I mean, when you think about it and how hard it is for you or I to hustle a car around
Right.
there, with some of the things he deals with. Anymore, you don't even look at him as,
Anything different.
Rico the guy with,
Yeah.
limitations. He's,
Right.
the guy beating up on
Yeah,
us.
he's
and
coming
it's
for you.
not, you don't even really think of him as being, any different than,
Sure.
than anybody else. And he certainly, I think he certainly drives like he's 6 feet tall. Anyways,
Right.
Has
which is cool.
It's almost a worrisome situation, I imagine, for people that don't know how fans are going to handle something like that. Having somebody that's different come in.
Well, especially if
and-
it comes in quick. Okay, so I don't know if it's necessarily addressed for those who don't know who he is, but he's a little person.
Yes.
I don't know if he's specifically.
He's pretty well known. So
I-
if you
I-
listen
I
to a
don't-
Bryan Clauson podcast,
You probably know who Rico
Abreu
Abreu
is,
is.
Yeah.
So
And he won twice this year in Canaan?
I think so.
Yeah,
I know he
I
won
think-
at Columbus.
Yeah, I thought he had 2 wins.
Yeah.
but
and
I mean,
how tall is he?
He's
Sub 4?
Yeah, a little bit taller. I think he's just over 4.
yeah. And he's racing for H. Scott with Justin
Yeah.
Marks'
Yeah.
K&N East team, which are like the team to
That's
be
the
with.
guys. Yeah.
But even still, like they've had good drivers in those cars not win
Right.
because K&N East is tough.
Yeah.
And he came in and did a good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 7:20 right now on a Monday.
Is it Monday?
It's Monday.
I don't.
I couldn't tell you either.
Yeah.
And this is a rare. You've got like a week off, which is like record time for you.
I know. It's
So what is a night off? Because you're stuck. I feel bad almost like you're stuck eating dinner with us, when you could be with the girl and actually seeing a movie for a change. Like, what is a rare night off for you?
it's usually pretty boring because
Yeah,
we don't
believe
get
it.
very many of
Yeah.
them off. We've got our
DVR
TV shows
You
and
do.
DVR
What-
shows
So what are the
that
shows?
we watch Nashville and Scandal are our 2 big ones right now.
Okay. Both shows we don't watch.
They're pretty good. We just
I
started.
can't name a thing. But
We just started
Wait, Nashville?
Nashville.
Isn't Eric Valdez on that show?
no, he was on Graceland.
Graceland.
Ah.
Damn it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we just started Quantico. So
Okay.
we got some shows that we watch, mainly on DVR and on demand.
Yeah.
'Cause we have a hard time keeping a schedule, but
You ever watch
Yep.
Silicon Valley?
never watched Silicon
Okay.
Valley.
Not worth getting into.
Stop it. That's an inside joke. He's not doing it.
Yeah. So I mean, we're actually pretty close to a big mall with movie theater and that. So every now and then, Lauren doesn't like the movies as much as I do. I'd go to a movie every night.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Same. I love the movies.
I
You
to
go by
the movies.
yourself?
Well, normally not. If she's
I do all the
I
time.
would. If,
Yeah.
I would if I'm alone, but
Yeah. No,
I'd,
she's usually
I'd
with
imagine
me.
you going to a movie saying, "I'm just going to go on my own." It's going to get you in trouble, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Right.
So she's got to
Get
be
in
out.
trouble,
right.
You know.
That's where you take the other girls.
We take Chevy.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
That's right.
We understand there's a Tony Stewart story, how the first time you met. And we've only been given very minor details, but we were told it's pretty cool.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, the first I guess really the first time we really talked, I had met him in passing obviously, quite a bit, kind of being the young guy and coming up and yada yada. Everybody introduced you to, Tony and that, but the first time I probably really talked to him was I went to Eldora to race, and I just turned 16. Second USAC. I ran first USAC race the day after my 16th birthday. Finished third at Lima Land, and then went to Eldora the next night, thinking, "Oh, this is easy. I got this."
Right.
Which I'd been running sprint cars for a couple years. It wasn't, like I just jumped into a sprint car. I've been
Right.
running, local sprint car races, but you had to be 16 at the time to race USAC. So. So, yeah, go to Eldora and made it about 3/4 of a lap, hit the wall, flipped, kept flipping, finally landed. Well, when I came to, I don't think I was like knocked out, but so when I kind of came
So you
to, came
regroup
to.
where you
I love
are.
that he's like, I don't think I was.
So, you do the visor flip up, flip your visor up. Well, everything's still black. So I'd lost my vision at that time. Of course.
Yeah.
What I like is you say this so casually, like, and you know that
Well,
when
it came
that
back.
happens,
I came back.
It
so
came
I'm
back
all right.
eventually.
So anyway, one of the first guys over there, Tony was there. So he was one of the first guys over there. So he was with me the whole time as they were getting me out of the car and ribbing on me, and yeah. So that's how I met him.
Yeah.
And then but the best part of that story is that I
I'm done.
just
Thank you.
16. I just kind of finished everything up on my Ganassi program and
Right.
signed that
So
deal.
the world
Well,
is your oyster.
well, so they actually ended up helicoptering me out of there because I lost vision and
Right.
stuff like that. So they were
Now, when you lose vision, are you panicking, or are you just like,
I was a
okay,
little bit
let's see-
panicked.
Yeah.
Obviously at that point I was 16. I didn't know what to do. But obviously having Tony and my dad and everybody was there, so kind of talked you through it.
Right.
Tony's bumped his head a few times. So
Imagine.
I don't know if he's ever truly lost his vision. I think he had me convinced at that point he had, and it came
Right.
back. So I was like,
And he's
okay.
like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, he's
it'll
like,
be fine.
it'll be all right, but you're gonna wish it. You're gonna wish you didn't have vision when I send you the bill for the wall you just tore up at my new track, because he had just bought Eldora at that point. And so, anyways, so they loaded me in the helicopter and take off. Well, at that time they were holding another helicopter up top from landing, trying to land.
So that you always had something on site?
Well, no.
Oh,
So that
okay.
helicopter lands. It's Chip, and he
Oh,
is-
no
and he
way.
was pissed because they were holding him up there. So he comes down yelling at
And his
Tony.
new
He's
signing
like,
is down there.
Why did I was up in they held me up there for 15 minutes. They're like, well, yeah, we just had to send somebody out. They're like, what are you doing here? They're like, oh, I'm here to watch Clauson. And Tony's like, well, there he goes.
Money well spent, Chip.
So, yeah.
By the way, he can't see anymore.
Yeah. He's got no vision.
That's
Wow.
So, yeah. Bad timing, I guess.
so yeah. So there's that. Well, on that note,
So speaking of vision, we met with the great Mr. Derek Walker. Did you interface with Derek at all?
Not a whole
500?
lot.
Yeah.
No, not a whole lot.
We didn't know him, but I got to say he was pretty awesome with us.
so as a recurring theme on the show, we've been doing a pass-along question,
Oh, boy.
and so
I get mine from Walker.
you get yours
Gosh.
from the boss man, yeah, from Derek Walker. It's a very simple question, and he even asked it to us, and we were like, basically, very simple. Bryan Clauson, do you have a 5-year plan?
To some degree. I mean, I think, well, I had actually a pretty clear one until we threw this 200 race program together. No, I mean, I think, yeah, my 5-year plan, I guess I probably have more of a 3-year plan. You know,
That's
It's
actually
funny that came up.
you know, I think 5 years is tough in racing. You know what I mean? The landscape always changes. You know, if you were to ask me 5 years ago what I wanted to do, I can guarantee you that wing sprint car racing wouldn't have been in there.
Yeah.
right.
And here I am. I
And this is
ran
what you're
100 races this year, or 102 races. About 70 of them have been wing sprint car races.
Right.
So the landscape's always changing, but you know, I think, yeah, the landscape's always changing. I think this 200 race thing's kind of changed things for me a little bit. Before we announced that, you know, the kind of plan was to continue to build and not only myself but the race team that I raced with on the wing side of things, to 2 to 3 years down the road be a World of Outlaws team full time.
Okay.
You know, with this 200 race thing, I mean, it doesn't really put us behind because it allows us to travel and do so much racing. It actually probably puts us further ahead than if we were to just kind of run 100 wing races. But I might enjoy just doing everything so much that I might not ever want to commit, you know. I think I started going down this route earlier and got sidetracked. But, you know, as a race car driver, you know, the 200 race thing kind of came to me as I was in Paris racing. I think I told you it was for like 10, 12 grand to win that night. Well, World Finals was going on that same night for 15 grand to win.
Right.
2 nights, 15 grand to win each night. It's like, why am I not there?
Yeah.
Or there's another race, and I can't remember. Oh, yeah, we're at an Indiana Sprint Week race. Pays 5 grand to win. Same night, there's a 50,000 to win Kings Royal.
Yeah.
Right.
Why am I, as a professional race car driver, why am I not there?
Right.
So the point of the 200 race deal was to be at every big race in the country, and then you just kind of fill in to get there.
Whatever
You know, whatever you got to do to get there. So I kind of laid it all out on a map and schedule, and figured out that, like, based off of last year's schedule, if we were to do it this year, we'd have been at 199. Now, obviously, it always changes with rainouts.
Oh, sure.
You know, there was some stuff that got rescheduled that I wasn't going to be able to run that I would, so it could have been up to 201.
Right.
But then, obviously, if other races get rained out and not rescheduled, so you don't really know how it's going to pan out. But that's how we got to 200. So it's kind of crazy. But, yeah, 3-year plan. Obviously, with Birds, you know, we've got a lot of – he's actually a planner, so he probably has a 5-year plan. But you know, we've got a lot of big things that we want to keep working to that entail both the short track side of things and even bigger things. Maybe doing different forms of racing, kind of on the same scale. Whether it's doing some road course stuff and getting proficient enough to be a last driver on a Rolex 24-hour team, or you know what I mean, and just continuing to build that brand of anytime, anywhere, any car.
Old school.
Kind of just everywhere. That's kind of the whole idea between my brand and what they love as well, because it allows them to do a lot of fun things promotion-wise. So we've kind of got an idea of where we want to go, but like I said, it's hard to sit down and set in stone because the landscape is always changing. Even as much as this year. Obviously this coming year we had strict plans of doing the Indy 500, and then maybe in 17 branching out and doing a couple more races, 18 doing maybe the whole Triple Crown deal if it's still around.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it will be now because I think Fontana's off.
It's out. Yep.
So who knows what that'll, you know what I mean? But you just kind of build out an idea, but maybe now we move that back up and run Phoenix at the beginning of the year as a tune-up to Indy or, So you got to be.
I want to see you at Long Beach just because it'd be awesome.
My problem always was, and Randy Bernard really had a great kind of program set up, right, for to try and make the transition. The problem is that they didn't truly have enough money to support it,
right,
set aside for it, and B, they were basically at one time ask you to quit a paying job, to go
run
not.
Right.
To go not make money.
Can you go drive around?
Yeah. So, we did the lights deal. I gave up some races, was able to keep but still be able to do, for the most part, full time on my sprint car stuff. Did the 512. Well, 13 I won the scholarship again, and we looked at doing kind of the same thing and building on it, and actually had some stuff lined up to, if we could get the 500 lined up, maybe do another race beyond it to continue to build. Well, at this point, Randy was out, but I forget who was in at that point, but whoever was interim, I don't even think they had hired anybody yet.
Mark Miles kind of just took it and then never left. So,
but they wanted me to run lights, road course stuff. Well, the problem was, I probably didn't need to be in a lights road course car. I probably needed to be in like a F2000 or Star Mazda at least.
Right.
I've got no road course experience.
Right.
And secondly, there's nothing in there that really, like, okay, just say I go run lights. If I win all the road course lights races, I'm still.
Yeah, what's that going to do for
still,
you?
Still
not making money.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Still
Right.
broke. I can't carry a real job because you're asking me to do too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a little bit flawed there.
Historically, guys who come from oval track racing, especially like good oval guys, you said guys and whatnot, usually they adapt to road course racing faster than the other way around. And it's debatable from person to person, of course.
Yeah.
But a lot of people assume it's the other way around, and it's really not. Yeah. And who knows why? But
So to continue the question segment, tomorrow we'll be having lunch with Sarah Fisher, who you ran with in Indy. Any question you can ask for her?
doesn't have to be racing. It can be whatever you want.
Oh, there's so many questions. I'd just ask her.
Can I have a job again?
Okay, can I have it? Yeah, can I have a job? We'll make it can I have an A and a B?
Sure. Yeah.
No, what the hardest? Like someone like her in her stature. I wonder what the hardest part of giving it up truly was.
Yeah.
And B, how many times a week does she think about getting back in one?
It's good because now we can hide behind you because we want to ask the same thing.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
we'll blame you when we get in trouble for it. So when are we going to see you in a sports car?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like, I'm busy. Did you hear my schedule?
Did you not hear
I don't
this?
have time.
What the was this dinner for?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like I said, obviously, like one of the goals is to try and get get proficient enough to, like I said, be a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I don't know. I don't even care if whatever I run enough time to have my name listed on the little driver sheet of the Rolex.
We need to work on your last name. It needs to be more German.
I hear you. But yeah, so probably honestly, that's probably a couple years down the road.
Sure.
I mean, we're probably looking at
Still
maybe
got a long way to go.
Yeah,
in
but
your
because
career.
it's what's funny is like I think about Daytona. Well, that would only be one of 200 races.
yeah. Exactly.
Well, and the thing is that kind of fits into the downtime, so it could add another race for me.
Right.
Right.
Get that off.
You're like,
And it's
201.
201.
Yeah.
It'll only take 3 weeks out of your schedule for that one.
Yeah. Honestly, I think like if everything was to go perfectly to plan, I'd say we'd be looking for something in 2018.
Okay. So if John Q. Moneybags showed up with a satchel of money and said, "I want you to go sports car racing," would it be a prototype or would it be a GT car?
Ooh. I'm probably not smart enough right now to know the difference. So, I mean, I
It's
know
honest,
that.
and for that I respect you.
I know the difference, but I'm saying driving wise.
Well, yeah,
you
you're
know
like,
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whatever
CG.
you want,
Sure.
whatever one you're gonna pay me more to drive.
I love that.
Said like a professional. So what's the next dog? Because once you have
We're
2,
not-
then it's
no.
unlimited. No,
We're done-
there's like 4
we're done
more
at
coming.
2. So hopefully, I like.
I like
well,
the
I mean,
expression
like
we're
both,
done at 2. Like
I like both my
It's their
dogs.
babies.
For the most part, Stewart's a little bit of a handful, but he.
takes after his namesake.
That's right. That's two's plenty. I can't handle. Well, we can barely handle 2. So
All right.
the thing with
Is she?
we
banned?
travel so much with them that we got to do the whole hotel thing.
It's
right,
because
right.
I have this problem at home. I have to ban the Asian in my house from looking at rescue websites. Do you have this problem?
No, because she's the one that ends up having to take care of the dogs for the most part, like at the races while we're racing. And
Okay.
they wear
2
her
is
out.
more than
so.
enough. Sure.
So now every now and then, every now and then we end up looking and we're like, oh, we got to remind ourselves that
You're
2's
pretty
plenty,
good.
but yeah, no, 2's plenty.
Cool.
With that being said, she is going to look at another Jack Russell at the rescue.
Yep.
Well, she's going to look. My grandma wants a dog, so she
Oh,
found
there you
this. It's actually a 9-year-old Jack Russell.
All right.
So
I'm telling you, come
All
November
trained,
18th,
so-
this is already going to be outdated.
that's right.
There's one
So
more.
might have another one in the family. Not here, but kind of within the
With
family.
grandma.
With grandma.
That was a steak.
It was wonderful.
Do you know Spence Pompelli ran over a guy?
What was that?
What's the most pet-friendly hotel?
That's
That's a real
good
question, actually. 'cause I don't know.
La Quintas are the best.
They're
They're every one of
it's
them
a
pet
chain
friendly.
policy that they're
Yeah,
pet-friendly,
everything's
right?
pet
Yeah.
friendly. I don't even think they have a pet fee, honestly,
Yeah.
because a lot of places,
It's like a $50.
yeah,
or
$15,
something. Yeah.
$20 pet fee.
Yeah.
Holiday Inn's probably the nicest that's pet friendly.
Yeah.
Anyways, like about half or 3/4 of them are pet friendly, but
Yeah. Nice.
we just a lot of the La Quintas are
La Quintas.
That's what it's called.
That's an
Yeah.
Indiana boy right
That's
there.
what
I
it's
love
called.
this.
It's La
I love
Quinta.
it's
that.
La Quinta.
Yeah.
They're actually becoming, they at one point they weren't the nicest, but they've all been like 90% of the ones we've stayed at them a lot this year because I raced a lot in Iowa and Nebraska and all over. So we've been
Yeah.
on the road. We logged some miles.
So in
this
Iowa
year.
and Nebraska, do they all say La Quinta?
I don't know.
But that's what it says on the sign.
Does
I'm not Spanish. I don't speak
yeah.
Spanish. It's La
You
Quinta.
La Quinta,
people.
whatever.
Nope. It's La
people.
Quinta. It's La
So-
Quinta.
Y'all are not from California.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. So they're the most pet friendly.
Yeah.
They're the most pet friendly.
I got
Yeah.
nothing.
All right.
I mean, we got a
It's
ton
easy
of
enough.
stuff.
Yeah,
so.
we have 2 hours worth of stuff. So
I can talk.
figure it
I'm
out.
kind of a
No, it's
talker,
great.
so-
It's awesome.
Trust me, there are times where we're like
Yeah, there've been a few teeth pullers. Like
10
what do
minutes in.
we- I'm out, Ryan. You're it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If you're
I
happy,
got
I'm
nothing.
happy.
We're happy.
I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think Continental's got the check.
I'm finished.
All right, dinner with Bryan Clauson. Super cool dude. Really just felt like we were hanging out with a guy just like us, to be honest. So, except he's going to be running 200 races next year. So, good luck with that. Hope to see him at Indy. And let's play ourselves out here with another song by Slightly Stupid. Here is Rolling Stone. Also available on iTunes. Enjoy.